All right, guys, we got a full panel today. If you're here today, you can become a better person, right? Who is here from the U.S. right now in the audience?
Okay, sorry, Fresh. We're gonna put Fresh on hold for a moment. Again, I said I apologize for the audio. Hope the audio is the audio okay a little bit. I probably should maybe I can up it a little bit here. Let me see what I can do. All right, so let me give you a little pretext. If you haven't seen this clip already, this is the Fresh and Fit podcast. It's a live event. I dare say it was probably funded by Rumble because this looks like a very expensive set. And if it's where I think it was, this place wasn't cheap. It looks like a pretty good. I hope they do more of these. I hope, I real honestly do. I don't. This is definitely not a Valuetainment because Valuetainment would have been indoors. This is partially outdoors. Okay. So you can see Miguel. If you can, let me put this up here. You got Miguel all the way on the far right. I don't know the guy next to Andrew, but Andrew is the one sitting just to the left of Myron there. Then there's Myron. Then there's Fresh. And then there's Wes Watson. I don't know the guy's name who is next to Wes Watson. I heard him. A couple of things he said were pretty cool. Then there's Charlie. And then is it Bandman Kevin? Who's the guy on the black guy on the end there? Now, all these guys were asked to be out there. I know that Charlie and Miguel are on another. Was it quarter two? Cultivate Crypto is coming up, so I know that they're promoting that. Gotta say, I'm just a big shout out to my man Miguel. He looks like the fucking kingpin. he's like the Latino kingpin. maybe we can start a new nickname for Miguel. Senor Kingpin. So anyways, I'm gonna let this go for a little bit. Now I'm gonna let it run a little bit. If I scrub through, I apologize, but what you got this? Apologies for using your channel, but preempting propaganda is how you beat it. Okay, important for people to understand who you're dealing with. Good day. Okay, who are we dealing with? Dude, just get to the point. Oh, Elise Walker. Sorry, that was you. Yeah, I know. And by the way, I like I've said before, Elise, I'm kind of like Tate neutral. I'm Tate agnostic right now, only because I have a lot of friends who were part of that whole organization. And as things come to light, I'm souring on them more and more and more. I've had the Tates on my show several times. I judiciously removed those videos from YouTube by the way, at their request. And just, of course, by then the damage is done. It doesn't really matter. I'm actually kind of glad I did. I will probably make those interviews public again after the trial is over. But again, I'm more or less Tate agnostic right now.
Raise your hand real quick. Wow. Who's not from the U.S.? Okay.
A couple guys.
You came from, where'd you come from, bro? Where?
London?
Colombia. Man's getting far. Man's not hot.
Oh, shit.
There you go. There you go.
Best woman.
You think so?
Hell yeah. Colombians? Come on, man.
Oh, Colombians.
Colombians.
Okay, there you go. So guys, we'll start this off with a question for the panel. I think it's helped you guys a lot. How do you define success? And we'll start with Biame Kevo.
How did I find success?
How do you define success? What does that mean for you?
Success is, being free, being able to do what I want to do every day when I wake up.
For you?
Yeah, same thing. Being able to do what you want, when you want, and with whom you want, whenever you want to do it. Because a lot of people don't have that level of freedom in the world, so I agree 100%.
Gatos?
To be honest, it's working in what you love, because you got to wake up and love your life. You just create that, that life you just want to live every day. You don't want to stop, Sometimes I don't want to sleep and I want to wake up earlier. Just because I live the life I want to live. I also, with my wife, like I'm married but not trapped. It's not like I hide shit. It's everything's up front. Like I don't hide anything and I show everything. So,
blessed man.
Okay. And my definition of success is across the board. If you're not ripped, if you're not rich, if you ain't rare, if you don't stand out, if you ain't across the board successful, it doesn't mean fucking shit to me. If you got
Okay, let me just chime in here. If you read his shirt, it basically says every single bullet point he says right there. And I like Wes, but Wes, we need a new shtick. We need new content. We need we need a new bumper sticker, Wes. We really do.
Straight tits and you're in your Rolls Royce, you look like a fucking clown to me. I'm just laughing at your dumb fucking ass. But this is the whole fucking point. You have a weakness. Change it, motherfucker. How the fuck are you going to lead people if you don't realize your weakness is their way out? They're not going to listen to you. You're sitting there possessing shit that they don't want to have. So, I mean, this is what people say. Oh, it's not about the money. It's about family, Wes. It's about this, about that. Motherfucker, when you're making money, it's about the money. When it's family, it's about family. When you're at the gym, it's about muscle. Whatever you're doing, it's about that. There's no black and white life. It's the gray area. You have to be good at everything. That's the goal, to really excel in every area. I roll in most rooms with successful entrepreneurs, and it's pathetic. They'll have like a before and after picture of their fitness shit, and their after picture looks like their before pic. And I'm like, motherfucker, you're not embarrassed of this shit? Like, you have enough money, and that's what you put out. You're that big of a pussy. Like, I just can't get behind anything that's not done at a high level. So knock the one thing off the board first, then the next thing, then the next thing. Jados is ripped, rich, and rare. I mean, the whole thing. What's rare mean to me? It means no vices. It means no drugs, no alcohol, no bullshit. You don't have to hide behind nothing. I mean, what's rich? I mean, you get to do what the fuck you want. I don't need you to be a billionaire to say you're rich or other.
So let me chime in here real quickly, because everything, it's like hard to disagree because it sounds like it's like truthy, right? Yeah. Who's going to disagree with this? It's like a lot of the shit is just basically unfalsifiable bullshit, right? And it's not that it's wrong. It's just truthy. And it's nothing that you're not going to hear from David Goggins. It's nothing that you're not going to hear from like even Dan Bilzerian to an extent. Although I think Dan's a little more down to earth, but Dan doesn't go around and like do like events like this. Dan just does his own shit, right? I'm trying to think like Patrick Bet David. Probably, I would wonder if Patrick Bet David didn't see this and immediately want Wes on the show. It's the same shtick. It's the same. It's what we call the success porn hustle. And he's not offering anything that wasn't already done by like Norman Vincent Peale, was it The Power of Positive Thinking? Or what is it? Phineas Quimby. Go look up Phineas Quimby. That's where all this began back in the 1800s. It's the positivity hustle. Think and grow rich, right? Anything by Carnegie, anything by what's his name? Who's the guy that did Influence Friends? What is it? How to Influence People and Make Friends or some shit like that. I forget the dude's name. But it's the same hustle. Tony Robbins doing the same thing. Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking, same thing. Self-talk. He even talks. I've looked at some of Wes's stuff. It's like your self-conversations. You know who also talked to, who did almost exactly the same grift? Mike Cernovich. It's the same thing reheated. It's Taco Bell, man. It's the same ingredients in different like forms, right? There's only so many ways you can make a chalupa. Okay. This is chalupa success. It's not wrong. And you get caught, Dale Carnegie. Thank you. You get caught, but no, there's the other one. Not Dale Carnegie, the other dude. Dale Carnegie did How to Influence Friends. What was the other one? Napoleon Hill. There it is. Thank you very much. You get a no prize. Yeah, Napoleon Hill. Look up Phineas Quimby. That's really where all this came from, but back in the 1800s. Yeah, exactly. Steve Covey. It's the same thing. It's the same. I mean, it's done in a different context because we live in the social media age, but it's the same messaging. Get off your ass. Get up at 4 a.m. I mean, I hate this. I like Jocko Willink very much so, but a lot of his stuff sounds a lot like Phineas Quimby or Norman Vincent Peale or, Power of Positive Thinking or Tony Robbins. And the thing about guys like Tony Robbins and even Wes here is like, you can't argue against it. It's unfalsifiable. Yes, you should be in shape. That's why everybody loved Andrew Tate, because I like some of the stuff he talks about, like get in the gym and be on your money and be an entrepreneur and blah, 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 blah. I just don't like what he says about women. Well, because the stuff that they agreed with is exactly the same shit that Wes is throwing out here, man. Be ripped, be rich, and be rare. Okay, well, we could probably find the same kind of jingoism in Tony Robbins. It's like you need to talk to yourself in positives. Okay, that's good. Even hell, and you guys know I love me some Robert Kiyosaki, but Robert loves to talk about the time he was in Vietnam and flew helicopters there, even to the day, and will repeat himself over and over about that and think it's just as interesting as the first time he ever told it. And I love Robert, and he's much deeper than I think a lot of people give him credit. But when you see him speak publicly, he goes back to the same well. Same thing as these guys. They just go back to the same well. And is this red pill? It's definitely red pill adjacent, only because it's, well, you got to be the best version of yourself. Well, who's going to argue against that? Who's going to say, no, fuck that, I'm not being the best version of myself. But the thing is like now the sales pitch for this is the same escalation narrative that I mentioned in the beginning of the show. So, which we'll see here in just a moment.
People, they'll see that even I rent my place. It's $95,000 a month. But they're like, you rent your place. It's like, you dumb motherfucker. You don't understand how to even operate at my level.
There you go.
Okay.
So guys, we'll start this off with a question for the
I'm
panel.
going to scrub this a little bit.
And I say, why? So I can look like you, motherfucker? And the guy's like, oh, no, but like, it looks like you're going to hurt your... Shut the fuck up, dude. I'm end up with your chest if I do that shit. Why would I want that? Or these motherfuckers go in my comments and I'll say some shit on purpose. I'm like, rent or buy. And if you ain't at the level to even do either of these, shut the fuck up and don't even participate. And they just get mad. It's like,
you notice there's okay. So how many minutes are we in on this? 4 minutes and 6 seconds. I'm looking at the timestamp here. 4 minutes and 6 seconds into this is when they started, right? 4 minutes, 6 seconds into this. It's a sales pitch. You can tell he's done this over and over and over. It's memorized. It's maybe he tells it in different variations, but the outline is basically what he's going by. So over and over and over, constant repetition. Now, what was the original question? Can anybody say what the original question was? What's your definition of success? His definition of success is not being what anybody else is. Everyone else is a loser except for me. That's my definition of success. And that's also my sales pitch. Buy my book and subscribe to my channel. And you can't argue with it, but it's bullshit. And nothing sells like bullshit. Like, well, he's making $3 million a month or whatever. Tony Robbins is making a lot more than that. David Goggins probably and I'm not saying David Goggins is bullshit. I'm just saying like the money in this case, I think people really need to understand. In fact, let me pull this off for a second. I think people really need to understand that just because you have a lot of money doesn't make you right. Okay. When people were talking about like Joe Rogan, for example, and Joe Rogan got $100 million deal to go from YouTube to go over to Spotify. And you could talk shit about Joe Rogan and say, and like Joe Rogan could go out and say, you know what? The sky is green. The sky is purple. The sky is red. And people go, yeah, I think it's red. And you go, no, it's bullshit. He's full of shit. What are you talking about? Doesn't matter. He makes $100 million. Like wealth enforces will. It also influences people's perceptions of you as well. Just because a guy makes, by all observation, by all indications, a guy like Dr. Fauci should be, he's a son of a bitch, but I bet he makes more money than this guy. You can go look at, just because a person is very, very wealthy does not necessarily mean that they are correct. But if your perception is that wealth implies correctness, wealth implies, well, he must have had a great plan. The Tinder swindler should be your freaking ideal then, because it doesn't matter what the guy does. It only matters what kind of money is in his bank account. Jeff Bezos, thank you very much. Right. Jeff Bezos actually did something at one point, probably not as much as he used to now. I mean, not taking anything away from Jeff, but, bullshit sells, man. How many times do we sit here and talk about how women will believe fucking anything? It's all perception, right? It's all smoke and mirrors. How easy is it to fake cues of high value? How easy is it to rent a Lamborghini now? How easy is it to take an Instagram picture next to leaning against a Lamborghini or a McLaren or something you saw in Brickell or in Vegas or whatever, right? It doesn't matter, because the perception is like, even if you're just leaning against this car, someone somewhere, some woman somewhere is going to think, oh, maybe he owns that car. Even if it's not true, it doesn't matter. The perception is all that matters. So if we're going to be critical of women for being like, susceptible to perception, why will we not be critical of men in the same fashion? It's just it's contextualized differently, but it's the same narrative. It's the same psychological mechanism. Oh, well, look at he's Jack. He is fucking Robert Frank, by the way. It's like Jack and juicy as fuck. Skates Glock, motherfucker. Let's go. I'd go work out with this dude. Wonder what his bench is. What do you think his bench is? What's Wes Watson's bench? What's his squat? I don't know, dude. Does he look like he skips leg day? Everybody gives me shit for like skipping leg day. I was like, dude, I've been a hard gainer since I was like 16 years old. Okay. Never been fat, but I've been a hard gainer. Right? I've always had kind of like a swimmer's body, like a runner's body. And so like putting on muscle has always been kind of difficult for me. Putting on weight, period, has been difficult for me. Like, what's Wes's lift, man? What does he deadlift, do you think? Wes, I need to know some numbers here. I need to know what's your bench, what's your squat, and what's your, I want to see numbers, man. I want to see what's in your bank account. I want to see if you're somebody that I should respect because I want to see money and I want to see Jack. Like, okay, fine. Here's I'll send you mine. Is this true? Can somebody tell me if this is true? I read this article talking about what percentage of the 5,500, what's the percentage of the American population, or American public, that can lift 225? Like that's two plates on, like bench 225, like two plates on either side. Where did I see it? Say 15%? Only 15% of the population can actually bench 225. And they're all guys. Well, maybe there's a girl who can. 15%. Is that accurate? Because that's like my working weight, man. I'm like, really? Or like, what was it? One of the reasons why they couldn't get they're having to reduce the standards for like the physical standards for the military is because they get these kids in a boot camp and none of them can do a pull-up. They can't even do, like 4 was the minimum. 4 pull, really? I'm fucking 56 years old. I could do at least 10, or bench. Hell, my working weight. I know I can do 6 reps at 225 right now. I know because I'm doing it. I'm trying to think what else. I guess I'm in the top 15%. Yeah. And also, are we going to adjust for age? I want to know. Wes, success-wise, if I'm 56 and I can bench as much as you, does that make me more of a success than you? I doubt that's the case.
You don't get to have an opinion if it's not an option for you. You don't get to say my chick's BBL and her fake tits aren't for you. You couldn't get her, you dumb motherfucker. You got a goddamn 3. And that's the worst thing about these motherfuckers. They try to give you relationship advice. Motherfucker, you got a borderline Miami 2. That's like a fucking Mississippi 6. Like, what the fuck you talking about? Don't give me relationship advice to my 10 when you got a 2, motherfucker. Shut
I thought we weren't supposed to chase women.
up. But this whole thing. People don't think I'm going to put the measuring stick to their motherfucking face. They better just watch what they say.
Look at that face. Wait. Speaking of face, look at Andrew Wilson. Oh, Andrew's like, oh, can't wait. Well, what do you think Andrew Wilson is thinking right here?
In every area. And if someone is beating you, just ask them. Just be humble. Like, your bitch is better than mine. How'd you get her? That car's way more than mine. How'd you do it? You make more than me. What's up? Like,
he's not answering a question. Like the question was, what's your definition of success? He's been going on. Let's see. It's now for like at least 3 minutes. And this is it's a sales pitch. This is, by the way, this is a brand showcase for this guy. Well, I mean, it's for everybody. Well, quite honestly, it's a brand showcase, but he's treating it. I'll give it this to, hey, Wes, good. A+, man. He's treating it as a brand showcase. Whether ripped, rich, and rare. Fuck, I want one of those. I want a t-shirt now. Can you give me one?
just fucking ask. And that's the thing. People aren't humble enough to ask. That's my shit. It's got to be across the board. You better have a bad bitch. You better be ripped. You better fucking be rolling some sick shit. That's what I like. I grew up.
That's funny. He must be on something. Yeah, it's not Adderall. It's Tren.
Listen,
Tren will do that to
my
you.
goddamn Phantom. Go out front. That ain't normal Phantom. That's a Mansory Phantom. I don't have the normal shit. Fuck that. Chick's got upgrades. Done.
Why don't you just say, here's my definition of success: a fucking hot piece of ass who's a 10, Rolls Royce Phantom. I guess he said my special edition Phantom, being jacked as at least as jacked as I am. And I am basically the definition of everybody's definition of success. I am the dude. This guy, success. That will just, you would have saved us a lot of fucking time, Wes.
Well said, Wes. God damn, with the fire. Shit.
I've been watching Goldie's content. That's the reason. I've been watching Goldie's content. He be getting me in trouble. My chick don't like his content. She's like, he's making too much sense.
Shout out to Goldie. All right, what about you?
Supposed to follow that up?
It's tough, right?
Get him.
That's funny. Fresh knows Wes Watson by name. He's like, what about you? To Andrew. Come on, man. It's Andrew Wilson, for fuck's sake.
Hey, what you guys were saying earlier, I need to know what the fuck you said in English.
Okay, so my definition of success will probably be far different than everybody else's on the panel. I'll probably maybe be the lone dissenter, but my definition of success is having a family, having children, and being part of the apparatus of the world. And true wealth is a rejection of materialism. As Christ said himself, what good does it benefit a man to gain the entire world at the cost of his soul? And essentially, when I think of wealth, I think of materialism. It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy. But I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. You're trying to go for a single thing, and it's to achieve something greater
You have
than
money.
the person.
Does he have money?
No.
Do you have money?
No, I don't have.
How much
I don't
money do you
have.
have?
I don't
Does he
have
have
money.
money?
But here's the thing. Why is money
much-
valuable?
Do you have
Why?
money?
What is money valuable for?
I'm just asking. Do you have money?
I just said no. I'm broke. I'm a
No,
nobody.
but really, you are?
Yeah.
Is he really broke?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I have.
He's not broke. Trust me on this one. Well, I mean, for Andrew, for a guy who like keeps like and all of Andrew's videos, he's got like the amount of money he's like trying to get to. It's almost like a telethon, right? Like trying to reach this. Like how fucked up would it be if I was to have like something in the background or something and like superimpose on the screen saying, okay, guys, we're not stopping the show. We're stopping the show until everybody like meets the $3,000 top minimum for super chats. I've never done that. I never would. But I think Andrew actually probably makes more money than he lets on. But does he make as much money as Wes? Probably not.
To know.
No, I'm
He's
not.
trolling.
I'm not one of these rich guys. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Lambo.
I just really have to know. Like, how much money you got?
Probably $5 in my pocket. Not much more.
See, can anyone answer for the guy?
Why do they think I'm kidding? I have a family. I take care of an entire family. That's
All right. Well, actually, let him go.
that takes a
little
lot
He's
of
doing
money.
all right. He's doing all right.
Okay,
It's okay.
This is the thing. This is the thing, you guys. If you ain't fit, you can't say it's not all about being in good
Why-
shape.
why not?
If you don't have money, you can't say it's not all about money.
Yeah, why
But
not?
if he does have money, he can say that.
Why not?
He
Why
can.
can't you say? Why must you have the thing
Because
before you
hy-
hang on? Let me ask the question.
Because hypothetical
Let
is
me ask the question.
hypocritical.
Let me ask the question.
Hypothetical is
How
hypocritical.
do you even know what I was going to say before I've even been allowed to
I
ask
know
the
what you're
question?
gonna say.
But
Okay,
what was I gonna
this
say?
is okay. So this is like okay. Hypothetical is hypocritical. No, Wes. It's called the scientific method, asshat. So I'm going to disagree with Wes in this right here. Now, notice that it's bumper sticker logic, though. It's like OJ. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Glove don't fit, must acquit. Hypothetical means hypocritical. No, it's asking you a question. You know why that's like seems like logic to Wes is because it puts you on the spot. Makes you actually have to think about something instead of just having a bumper sticker that says, "Oh, that's all I need to know. Time to go." Even that, I guess that there's an alliteration. All I need to know. Time to go. That's why I keep saying, and maybe now Andrew can sort of like relate a little bit more. The red pill is not a bumper sticker. It is not a belief set. It is not an elevator pitch. Right? Tell me what the red pill is in 5 minutes, Rolo. Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's the praxeology of intersectional dynamics. If I were to say that to Wes, he'd be like, huh? If I don't know, if you can't write it on a napkin, then nobody's going to buy your t-shirts. Dude, that's because it's not about, not what it's about. And I think the reason why there's such a conflict between these two guys is, well, first of all, I think probably Andrew believed that there was going to be a little bit more substance, I think, to Wes. There's not. He's not to put too fine a point on it, but Wes is very one-dimensional. Okay. It's money, muscles, and game, but it's also the most singular dimension of those aspects. That's all he's selling. Wes Watson is probably a better looking, more jacked, more together, richer version of John from Modern Life Dating. Simple as that. Like he's, not taking anything. Again, I like John quite a bit, but like it's the same message of money, muscles, game, frame. I guarantee you, if you put it in those words to Wes, he would nothing wrong with that. But it's the delivery, it's the over the top professional, and like guys respond to it. I watched this live. I don't know if people, I didn't say that earlier. I watched this live when it was happening, and I switched between YouTube and Rumble. There is a world of difference between the chat on YouTube and the chat on Rumble, because even guys on Rumble who hated him, they were just up his ass hating him. And the guys who loved him were just over the top loving on him. And and mostly because it draws a line, a tribalistic line between the jock that used to give you atomic wedgies in high school and a cerebral guy like Andrew, who's going to quote scripture and Christ is King and all this other stuff. And it's interesting. And I was going to say this before I started the video. It's interesting to see how each of these guys is playing out their own narratives in their own clips, because they're like, for a guy who doesn't make much money like Andrew, he's got a freaking superior team of guys who go and do clips for him and just whip it out as quick as they possibly can, and they put their spin on it immediately. Andrew Wilson destroys Wes Watson. Sunday, monster trucks. I mean, it is like, and it is immediate too. It'll make your head spin. I would say that the clip was probably out before the end of the show. That's how efficient people are these days. I've got guys that help. And by the way, thank you. Was it Manesh? And I've got my boy Nick, who runs my clip channel. I don't think I've ever given you guys a shout out. I'm giving you a shout out right now. Manesh gives me, is it Manesh? I'm going to make sure I pronounce his name right. Yeah, Mahesh. M-A-H-E-S-H. Sorry, I was mispronouncing your name, bro. Mahesh is my shorts guy, or my quick clips guy, my 45-second, my TikTok guy, which I really rarely use, unfortunately. And then I've got Nick, who does my clips channel. Big ups to you guys, and also big ups to Sam Bada, who is always without fail in my chat room and is always dropping the band hammer when he needs to. But I other than those guys, I'm a one-man show, right? If I can pay Mahesh, I will pay him. Nick, I pay maybe $1,000 a month, right? And it's like I said, I am more of an author than I am a internet person. I'm glad you guys like me, thank you. But I'm much more of an author than I am, sort of a public commentator, especially these days. I mean, maybe that'll change after the election cycle and everybody suddenly goes back to being red pill again. But it's brand management for these guys. I mean, even Andrew to a greater extent, it's brand management. So when Andrew starts getting pressed by Wes Watson, and I don't think Andrew, hell, I know Andrew isn't used to being pressed like this. But I will say, getting pressed, he handled it way better than Destiny did. Getting pressed by Alex. And again, this is just sort of, I don't think this is sort of an ideological clash. I think it's a clash of brands. It's I mean, maybe Andrew thought it was going to be sort of an ideological clash, or he's like operating from that perspective, whereas Wes is like speaking a completely different language, and you're just not going to get through. You're just not going to break through something like that.
You're going to say, why can't you ask the question?
Okay, so that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, how in the world can you create a standard that it's inappropriate to ask somebody, how come if I don't have X thing, because I don't value X thing, does that mean X thing is actually valuable?
You've never experienced it, so you can't speak about
You
it.
think that I haven't experienced wealth?
I was asking if you did.
Even poor people experience days of wealth.
I was asking if you did. I don't know who you are.
But even poor people experience days of wealth. And so the thing is
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely
no,
so.
Not.
Definitely so.
I've lived the lowest lows and the highest highs.
Well, what's the distinction? After you make X amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you look at these studies done on this, It does not.
I don't fit no
hugely-
fucking studies.
It does not
bro.
hugely improve a person's
Are you
life.
proud of who the fuck
Bro,
you are?
why
Well,
don't
look
you
at,
even
are
let
you
me
proud?
quit?
If you look in the mirror,
Okay, hold on. This is where he gets into it. I want to stop here real quick because I'm just going to let him roll here and let him cook for a minute. The reason why Wes is defaulting to this is because he's out of gas. He can't even speak the same language as Andrew. And I'm going to give Andrew points here now. Andrew, you get points. This is where he stops. This is where when a guy like, well, I should say when a guy like Wes, but like when guys run out of gas, I see this mostly in women, to be honest with you. But when a woman runs out of gas, when she runs out of sort of logic, like I've explained this before, there's the point of diminishing returns, right? There's the point, like it's almost like a bell curve. You get up to the point where it's like it's just topping out and you're having a really good conversation. And then that woman doesn't have a comeback. They have no counter argument. They don't have any more stats. Even if they're just fought to a logical standstill, that's when you reach the point of diminishing returns. After that is the point of negative returns. Nobody wants to talk about that. They just, you just stop at the point of negative. No, there's the negative return side, which we most definitely get into in this one. But usually the point of negative returns is after the 6 White Claw on Fresh for the women. We reached that point really quick on the last Access Vegas, by the way. And as people say, oh, these are ratchet hoes or porn stars. So yeah, they are. And we do get to the point of diminishing returns sometimes quite quickly. I still like doing it. I still like having the conversations with these women, but trust me, duly noted. Yes, we know. I know when we've hit the point of diminishing returns, and I know the point of negative returns. So, but that's not to preclude that guys can't also run into the same thing. So a guy like Wes Watson, instead of who hurt you, which is usually what women go to, right? They instead of a rational argument, here's the progression. Okay. The rational argument is, here, I'm going to give you point A, point B, point B, C. Do you have any counter arguments? Yes, I do. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then here, let's hash it out. Is this a valid argument? Is it cogent? Does it follow? Is this actually what we're looking for? There's parts of like a logical debate that nobody even knows about anymore. That should follow in any kind of exchange, especially if it's an argument or it's like a formal debate or like an argument of some sorts. That's really how it should proceed. And when it's men, I expect it to stay in rational terms, in rational language, the language of reason, right? I've talked about that a million times. The difference between the language of reason and the language of emotion. The problem is when guys and women, usually it's more easy to point out in women, but when people run out of gas with the language of reason, they default to emotionalism. And that's exactly where Wes just went. Hey, look at you. That has nothing to do with anything we were just talking about. What do you mean, look at me, right? Now he's going to try to make it into, oh, well, you're not successful because you don't look jacked and juicy as fuck, right? Did you get a tan? If I was to ever do this, I would make sure I got my spray tan. I would fucking take like freaking, well, I would take Anadrol. I take Anadrol before when I go get a fucking good pump, go out there and go, hey, what's up, brother? And then I'd ruin him. I'd ruin him with like rational, reasonable language, right? But you can't say shit because I got a wife, I got a kid, my notch count's up in the 40s. I look fucking fantastic for my five. I'm in the top, like, what would you say, 5%, 3% of my age demographic physique wise. I mean, what are you going to come at me, bro? Do I own a Phantom? No, but I do own 4 cars that are downstairs right now. I can buy the things that I want. I don't want a Phantom. In fact, I wouldn't buy it. You know what I would want? If I had the money, hear me out. If I had the money to buy a Rolls-Royce Phantom or whatever his specialty car is, if I had that kind of cash, I would not buy that would be the last car I would buy. I would buy me a Ripsaw. You know what a Ripsaw is? Go look up Ripsaw. All one word, RIPSAW. And I would live in Reno, Nevada, in like the best place in Reno, Nevada, and I would have that Ripsaw. That would be cool. I would take the money and do that. I would buy me the best fucking snowmobiles I could get. I would buy me like, what I get? I would get because I like power sports and stuff. So the thing is like, if they even ask, they're still not even through to get to Miguel yet. They're not even having the conversation about what do you define success as? and we're having this emotional back and forth. Like now we're declining because it's the point of diminishing returns. We're declining into an emotional argument as opposed to a rational, reasonable argument. And when the people run out of gas, that's when you hear women go, "Who hurt you? Have you ever been in love? Get outside and touch grass." Cringe. That's emotional language because you have nothing left. There's nothing there. When you have a guy like Andrew, who I have a lot of respect for, and I think he was probably expecting something. He probably was expecting more from Wes than was going to be deliverable. But the thing with guys who are of that mindset or that ideology is that when religious guys run out of gas, it's Christ is king. The Bible says, Scripture says, what profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his immortal soul? Okay, point taken. Not saying you're wrong. I'll quote Scripture with the best of them too. Okay, I'm probably badly, but it's still that kind of default to that's an emotional appeal. Well, you're gonna die. It's memento mori, right? You too shall die. As I am, so shall you be. Right? That's what, or else it's the orthodox paradox, or it's the prodigal son narrative. I once was a piece of shit, but then I came back to the fold, and found out that all these people who I thought were wrong were actually right. That's another. It's an emotional appeal, is what it comes down to. Now they both have made emotional appeals up to this point by quoting Scripture from the jump. We get it. Andrew, you're the religious guy. Cool. Can we move on from that? Is there more to it? Are you out of gas? Because I don't think he was. I thought he was ready to rip into him. But when you get pressed like this, it's hard not to decline into that emotional language. And I noticed something similar when the Double Time twins came at him on Access Vegas. And this is from one professional to another. I learned this the hard way from Pat Campbell, actually, because I used to do the same thing. I was not as good. I was not as good as I am today. But when I was doing stuff with Pat Campbell, there was a moment. I by the way, I found this audio. I do have this audio. Okay. I said I didn't have it, but I just found it in my archives when I was moving stuff out here to Vegas. But there was because Pat Campbell, my God rest his soul, he passed away in 2021. Pat was a terrestrial radio show host. He was actually helped me launch this actual show. And I used to do his terrestrial radio show with him in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was syndicated, but one time I was on my regular time slot, which was Fridays at 4 a.m. for me, but like 6 or 7 for him. And we had a feminist on there, and she was just like giving me this shit. She was just talking over me, and I couldn't get a point in edgewise. And I knew that like we only have 43 minutes on my bit, right? My time slot. So I raised my voice and I got angry, right? And righteously so, I would say. I listened to the tape again. But I usually, the funniest thing is I used to, whenever Pat would do a show and my slot was over, he wouldn't call me until maybe that afternoon, when he had a chance to sort of follow up with people. But after that show, and I got heated with this chick, he called me like immediately after the show was over. And he says, "You broke a cardinal rule." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "The first one to get emotional loses." And I think that's really kind of where I don't think Andrew has done this long enough to practice wax on, wax off, right? To practice those skills. I would argue that Wes Watson is a much better public speaker than Andrew is. And so he's kind of going in at a disadvantage. Andrew and a lot of these guys, not just Andrew, but a lot of guys who sit in a room in their own pod, the comfort of their own home, and their dog is sitting next to them, and their wife brings them coffee, and he can smoke cigarettes and have a bourbon while you turn into freaking Dean Martin. It's comfortable, and I'm mea culpa, me too, right? I get out and I do things. I will go out and do public speaking. I have put the challenge for people. If you want to debate, you come to fucking Vegas. I think I am at a point right now where I don't have a problem with that. I go into the Lion's Den with Dr. Phil. I just went to Tim Pool. I'm capable of doing those shows, and I'm more than willing to do them. Right. But I think we get a little bit comfortable in this format where it's just me and you and the chat, and we can talk about whatever we want. And I'm looking at 30,087 of you right now. And that's great. But when I turn off the computer, I'm here. Just me in this room. I go downstairs and fuck my wife, right? But there's not 3,087 people in this room right now. And when I was on Dr. Phil, there was 300 people maybe in the studio audience, plus the people who are on there. So I wasn't playing to a gigantic ass crowd. And as a live musician, I played to about 12,000 at festival gigs back in the day. But that's not that much. Like even Myron and Fresh played them more than that. Probably this show got at least 20,000. Right? I don't think we think about things in terms of audiences when we're just sort of in this sort of introverted space. So and again, not to take anything away from Andrew, I think he's a good dude, and I think his message is on point. I would very much like to have another discussion with him. By the way, when are we going to see Andrew and Rolo debate, bitch? We've been. How many times have we been on the show together, man? I've been on his show. I've been on his affiliate shows. We've had him on here for a divorce debate with Jim Sexton. What more do you fucking want? Oh, you didn't know that? Maybe it's because you're a rooter. Maybe it's because you're just a fucking hater. Hey, when are we going to see the debate? Shots fired. No shots fired. You don't even fucking know who you're talking about. I love that, man. I love it when people go, oh, Rollo and Marquette are going to destroy each other. Do you understand what my history is with Marquette? No, you don't. But you're like salivating at the, frothing at the mouth because you think there's going to be blood. I love that. I told Marquette to play that up when Marquette and I did his show. I said, dude, play that up. The friction and the conflict, right? We get together, we're like bros, and we've known each other for a long time. He's going to be destroyed. No, I'm not. All right, we're going to get back to this, but just to put things into context here, remember, there's a difference between a rational language and an emotional language. And you could tell the difference out. Usually it's when it's Myron and Fresh, it'll be one chick that says, I feel, and then, everybody goes merch, right? Because it comes up so often. And it's never, I think. It's never, here's the facts. It's never based on reason. Okay. So here we go.
Would you guys say this motherfucker's
We can have different opinions.
Yeah.
Tits. Oh God, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at your expense, but the reason I think it's fucking funny is because he's so one-dimensional. That's the only that's emotional language is what that is. Tits, everybody laugh at him. Laugh. That's an emotion. Humor. So how do you fight against stuff like that? How do you come back to that? Now, another lesson from my mentor, Pat Campbell, was you got to stay on point. Again, the first one to get emotional loses. And that's why, quite honestly, I think a lot of people are saying that Wes came off looking like a bully, number one. Number two is it seemed like all he ever had, he had one message. He had one, he's a one-trick pony. He's one-dimensional. And I think rather like what gets me is like if Wes would have slowed down, like back off the Adderall or whatever, like if he would have slowed down just a little bit, he could have made a much more strong, like if he was going to attack Andrew, he could have been way stronger at it if he would just slow down and was trying to make sort of cogent arguments. For instance, I would love this. I would love to be able to answer the same questions that Andrew was posing to Wes, but say, okay, well, here's the difference between here's why success, here's what success means to me, right? Here's what being a high value man is, right? The guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. Okay. So Wes's definition is that guy looks like him. That's why I was saying at the beginning of this show, alpha looks like whatever somebody is or whatever somebody thinks they could be, they have the potential to be. And that might be Captain America. It might be Iron Man. It might be something else. So when you say, no, my definition of alpha happens to be a guy who might be incarcerated in federal prison for, or for murdering someone, because technically that's alpha too. Okay. The capacity for violence is definitely an alpha trait. Is it pro-social? No. There are pro-social alphas and there are anti-social alphas. And each one of them thinks they're successful to some degree, like gang members, gang leaders, drug dealers, blue collar. Like, I will tell you right now, what Sam Bankman-Fried, before he got sent away, he probably thought he was on top of the fucking world. He thought he was successful. Okay. You look at guys like even Bernie Madoff and stuff. You look at guys, and I'm trying to think of like blue collar criminal. Hell, even like Jeffrey Epstein probably thought he was very much an alpha male and was very successful. The Tates very much probably have the same opinion of themselves. Oh, imagine, like, I think the thing is like, if you look at, again, this is the escalation narrative, but if you look at the rhetoric that comes out of Wes's mouth, it's very Tate-ish. Tate-esque, Andrew Tate-esque. It sounds a lot. It's a lot of that same rhetoric, because they know that the Tony Robbins pull yourself up by your bootstraps, 0 to hero. I've got the secret. That's the formula, by the way. I don't know if I said that. The formula is this. It's not enough, by the way, just to have the Batman origin stories. It has to be, there's a secret in there somewhere. So if you look at guys who are selling you this self-help program stuff, if they're selling you this success form, they're even asking, what's your definition of success, right? I presume that's the topic of the theme of the entire show. Well, if your Batman origin story is, hey, look at me, that's this whole thing. I was in prison. I was a poor, and I was born in the inner city, and now I've gone from 0 to hero. I used to be Peter Parker. Then I got bit by the secret radioactive spider that turned me into Spider-Man. And that secret is what is the sales pitch. And this is across the board. I'm not just picking on Wes. This is across the board. I have the secret to help you do what I did. And if I was a piece of shit, this is a variation of the prodigal son narrative. If I was a piece of shit, if I went to jail, if I was living on the streets homeless, and you've heard people say, I know Justin Waller has said this. I know that the Tates have said this. We remember sleeping in our cars because we were so dirt poor. But now we're superheroes because we found the secret sauce. We found this one thing that if we tell you can help you. That's why, and it's this pay to play kind of thing. It's usually some bullshit like, truthy aphorism that it's built on. You gotta what, think of yourself as the prize. You gotta pray away pray for it, right? What is it? Believe and receive, that kind of shit. It's never anything really super tangible. There's very rare, and with some notable exceptions, rarely is there a step by step. That's one of the reasons why it's so hard to sell the red pill. That's one of the reasons why, like, I get behind MOA, right? Men of Action, because we're actually acting. We're doing something. There's something tangible to it. It's not just feel good pep rally rah shit. Get off your ass, bro. Get up at 4 a.m. and take a big cold bath, and then get up and be productive and do the right thing, and eat your Wheaties. There's nothing to that. And even later on in the show, we'll see this here. We're going to ask, like, what does your morning look like? What is this? You guys are all successful entrepreneurs. What's your morning look like? Though that's coming up. We'll get to that in here in a minute. But whenever you're hearing the Batman origin story, it's usually, I was a cheap piece of shit and I became something else because I found this secret, and that I'm going to tell you what that secret is, so you can stop being a worthless piece of shit with tits, right? And you can stop being ashamed of yourself. Like, essentially, imagine this. Imagine if Wes's sales pitch was so engaging and so seductive that Andrew Wilson goes, you know what? Fuck this religion shit. Tell me what your secret is, bald-headed buff guy. Like, imagine him like coming to Jesus and saying, "Oh, I'm on board. How do I get a Rolls-Royce Phantom?" Because that's really kind of like that's the expectation of that pitch. It never happens, but that's the expectation of it. So if you can go from 0 to hero, and he has the secret, and you believe, oh, he has a secret, you'll follow along. That's really what, again, Phineas Quimby, Norman Vincent Peale, Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, all the same. It's the same. It's Taco Bell. It's same ingredients. It's just mixed up in a chalupa instead of a crunch wrap.
Anyway, back to where I was at.
Boobs.
Yeah. Okay. Prison. But anyway, if you want, if you want to follow the successful mantra of a man who tells you he's reformed from prison, understand why they might have gone there to begin with.
There you go. Best woman.
Oh, hang on.
Definition of success, and
That's how hard this guy works. He came from nothing to.
Everything he can to support him. That's
And then
what
when
I
you
think
go to the
success
beach
is.
with your family, they're like, "There's my stud dad right."
Oh, Jesus.
Family, and I think that true wealth
Oh, wait, hold
is
on.
having.
Let me back this up here.
But anyway, if you want,
Fuck yeah.
if you want to follow the successful mantra.
Okay, the whole thing about like the boobs thing, you caught that back and forth right there. That's middle school emotionalist bullshit. And unfortunately, well, okay, I kind of expected Wes to fall into that, but unfortunately, Andrew did what I did with the feminist back on Pat Campbell's show back then, which is prison. Like I probably would have done that like 6 years ago.
Mantra of a man who tells you he's reformed from prison. Understand why they might have gone there to begin with. And
take care
yes,
of a
I
family.
do think that a rejection of materialism is something missing in society, and I do think that true wealth is the family, and I think that true wealth is having a wife, and true wealth, that is what I think it is, and that is what I think truly success is being able to go home and look your family in the face and know that you're doing everything you can to support them. That's
And then
what
when
I
you
think
go to the
success
beach
is.
with your family, they're like, "There's my."
Stop whining
that
and
is
just
a
make an
Okay, that right there is Wes Watson out of gas. God damn it. I got nothing. God damn, you're fat. Okay, what else? What else you got? Lay it on me, Wes. No, yeah, exactly. Thank you. That is why Wes is full of shit. Because he's out of gas. There's nothing left to it. Now all he's doing is just throwing invectives out at this point because he knows he's on the back foot now. Because when you make appeals to like the higher power, well, it's not about materialism. Now, I got problems with that too, just as much. I think both Andrew and Wes are different sides of the masculinity coin, quite honest. And they're both represent the extremes of those sides of that coin, right? So you put me in between the two of these guys, and I'm probably the comfortable middle between both of them. Okay. Obviously, I like to work out. Obviously, I think that appearance and I think that physique is very important. It is. Looks fucking count. Was it your charming personality and your bulletproof game don't make any fucking difference when your shirt comes off. You have to. It's part of the game. It's part of your fucking life. You have to be in shape. You have to get rid of your sedations. If you want to be better, if you want to be more than you are, if you're not content with the way you are, you've got to figure out what's holding you back from what is me. And I'm not saying in this case, I agree with Wes 100%. Okay. Although I also agree with Andrew in the sense that like first of all, he's much more cerebral. He's seeing the forest for the trees. And it's important not to get lost in there's strategic, grand strategy. Okay. Seeing the grand strategy and then seeing things bit by bit. Okay. I think that a lot of guys who are like in the sort of the moralistic side of things, the ethical moralisms, the moralists of we want to associate him with the red pill because I don't think he would want me to, but the moralist mentality sees things from a grand strategy perspective. Whereas Wes sees things on a battle by battle, like on a daily basis on here's what you do. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. Much more realistic, much more materialistic, and he is materialistic. And there's nothing wrong with being materialistic. And there's nothing wrong with being, seeing the bigger picture. I think the comfortable, happy medium is doing both. And you can do both. I am the example of doing both. So I can write a book about religion and I can write a book about like the player's handbook right afterwards. My fourth and my fifth book, right? If you were to just read religion, my fourth book, you would think that maybe Rollo is really invested in this, religion, or this is ideological. This is if that was all you were to read and you didn't have any other like frame of reference. Then if you just read the player's handbook, you think, oh, this guy's just a PUA throwback. I'm not reading this shit. Get it out of here. You out. But if you read all of that together, if you read them in sequence, or you read them just like even out of sequence, well, read the first book first, right? Read The Rational Male, available on Amazon. Go get it now, and on Audible. Use those links, please. That link, use that link. But if you're reading my work, and I would hope that everybody in the pod class has, you would know what the entirety of it is. But most people don't have that level of interest, and neither one of these guys do, to the extent that other people do. But Wes is out of gas at this point. And he's done. I don't think Wes has ever run into. Wes is getting just as pressed as Andrew is here, because, like I said, they both represent the extreme sides of it. Like you've got, God, I wish I had I should go dig up the. Here you go. All right, there's your. What am I waffling on, asshat? Please come back. Tell me what I'm waffling on, because I'm not hardcore enough for you, because I'm not like totally ideological for you, or I'm not like grounded in like, win at every cost. I just told you 2 fucking seconds ago about Brandon Carter. I just mentioned that. And by the way, since we're on that topic, when I wrote that tweet after watching Brandon Carter's show on Fresh and Fit, that's what I was getting at. In fact, it's exactly what Andrew was talking about here. That's why I brought it up. Is what does it take? What are you willing to sacrifice for success? What are you willing to sacrifice? Family? Are you willing to sacrifice marriage? Are you willing to get a vasectomy because you don't want to get baby trapped because you need that insurance? There was other articles on that tweet. Sorry, I'm looking. The autofocus is fucking up. Get in the gym. That was like number 6 on there, I think. Resist the urge of easing up on your focus. Those are very Wes Watson-ish, right? So what are you willing to do? How far are you willing to go? What are you willing to sacrifice? That's really, it was being hyperbolic when I did this, but that extremeness was meant to wake people up, because at that point, after I had seen Brandon Carter talking about, here's what you have to do. Oh, the other part of it is Brandon Carter was saying that he was going to teach his son, that you have to love money. And if you were to say that sort of out of context to a moralist, you would say, oh, you can't serve 2 masters. You'll love the one and hate the other. You can't serve the Lord and serve money at the same time, which is really what this fucking argument is about. And I wish we would have just got down to fucking brass tacks and quote that scripture and be done with it, and fucking move on down the line to fucking Miguel, who's been waiting for a good 45 minutes. Poor Miguel, man. He's at the end of the line there. You got to listen to these 2 fuckwits, right? Just get to quote the scripture and then fucking move on. That's all you had to do. It was just, it's as simple as, it's not what profit a man if he gains the world. That's not it. It's you can't serve 2 masters. That's where you should have gone with it. So I'm waiting for the whole time. I was going to get to that, but you fuckers think I'm waffling here. I'm not waffling. That's what you want to waffling. Here, get to the point. That's the point. Get to that scripture, because that's really what this is all about. You can't serve 2 masters. And my point is this, is that you've got to be able to balance your visceral nature with your spiritual nature, or your higher sense of self, whatever you want to fucking call it. There's a balance. And if you read my book on religion, you'll understand where I'm coming from in this. It's just as much a deficit to be overly concerned with material things as it is to be only concerned with like immaterial things too. There is a fucking balance, and neither one of these guys can seem to wrap their heads around that. You want to end this conversation? That's all. The only scripture he would have had to need to quote was, you can't serve money and you can't serve God at the same time. That's all he had to say. Boom, done. Bye. Go back to prison. Like I'm surprised it didn't come out. I was hoping for that one to come out, and it never did. Because honestly, that's where he's at with this. And I think that's probably where a lot of moralists are at too with the red pill, is they think that it's just about the visceral nature, and it's you're being an animal. It's all about hedonism. No, it's also about protecting yourself. It's also about it's also confronting the question of what is your commitment to? Is it your commitment to the concept of commitment, like money or family, your wife? That's basically you're honoring your commitment, or is your commitment to yourself? Like I gotta take care of me above everything else. Is it enlightened self-interest, or are you going to be beholden to the concept of commitment, even to your own detriment? Are you going to die on that hill of commitment? Being committed to commitment, right? Or are you going to say, you know what? This ain't working out for me. I got to watch out for me, because if I can't sustain myself in this situation, and therefore my commitment is to me. What is it? Is it to self-interest, or is it to like mutual interest, right? Are you going to be pro-social, or are you going to think about yourself? Because that's really, is it individualism or is it collectivism? Those are, again, that's an extension of that whole argument right there. And again, both of these guys are coming at that debate from either one of those sides. I know that's a bit too cerebral for everybody, but it's really where these guys are at.
Dude, I'll smack your fat ass.
So you're gonna attack.
Straight
You're gonna
up.
attack.
All right.
No, but dude, nobody's
Okay, so this is the attack part. Like this is the compare this to the Destiny.
have tits. We can agree on that.
Look at the expressions of these guys' faces in the audience. Like, do you think this guy is well received? Because I had to stop this when I had to go back and like stop this and look at these guys. I don't know if Wes is actually making the points that he needs to be making right here. So is this indicative of like the new wave?
Men
of
usually
red
have
pill?
hair. We can agree on that too.
He has
Physically.
crossed over gender barriers.
I think we can see each side has different opinions.
By
Yeah.
choice, crossing gender barriers, by growing tits.
Okay, so this is all emotionalism. He's out of gas, so it comes back to tits. Har, har, har. That's all, because he doesn't have anything else. There was something that was a really good one here. Yeah, I know. Wilson, he knows he's out of shape, right? He does. If you know, I like Andrew, but he's chain smoking the whole time. He's like Ron White. He's the Ron White of the red pill. He's there with a tumbler of like scotch and he's got a cigarette in every single one of his shows. And you know what? Do you, man? But I think that I have to balance this out too, because I think a lot like people, especially in the chat right now. Wes is definitely by. Oh Jesus, this is too good. Wait, let me see if I can catch these up here. Oh man, you guys are fucking great. Yeah, Andrew does not align with the red pill. He's really not. But I think a lot of people don't realize just how much he does align. In fact, he doesn't even realize how much he aligns. There's a lot of guys who are, just because you're a moralist, at least in my book, it doesn't necessarily mean that a lot of the stuff that there's not going to be some crossover. There is. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, yeah, it is. That is true. That is very, very true. Actually, let me get to I got to get to super chats here real quick. Let me jump up.